could run through the fire, I could conquer the night. If I can make it, if I try to draw the red light, I could run through the fire, I could conquer the night. If I can make it, if I try to draw the red,
What's going on, guys? My name is Jason Morris. Yes, today we're going to be talking about the Osmo Pocket again. I did have a lot of questions in my last video, and obviously a lot of questions in a lot of my Osmo Pocket videos. I have a whole list of them below if you want to go check that out. I do want to try and answer some of these questions for you guys. And one of the main questions, or one of the main things that this video is about, is having the Osmo Pocket as your main camera. Can be done. Let's get into the video. So as I mentioned, this camera is the main camera for a lot of people around the world. I have had a lot of comments and a lot of questions on a lot of the settings on this thing. I do have a lot of videos when it comes to cinematic settings for the DJI Osmo Pocket, namely this video right here. Link is also in the description below if you want to check that out after this video. There's a few tips and tricks that I want to get into if you want to be producing some quality content with this DJI Osmo Pocket. Now, firstly, I want to talk about clean, crisp image. Now, the Osmo Pocket does produce nice, clean, crisp image as long as it is a suitable lighting. Now, you must keep that ISO down at the base ISO at 100. That would be great, because if you start stepping it up to 200, 400, whatever, above that 100, you're going to start introducing some digital grain. So that is one of the main things you need to take out of today, is to try and keep it at ISO 100. And if you are shooting in dark situations like this, you're going to need to invest in lighting. So having a nice, strong, but soft key light is essential with the DJI Osmo Pocket. Now, I did shoot that intro B-roll with the DJI Osmo Pocket. As you can see right now, I did have a key light and I did have a tungsten sort of kick light. It was quite contrasty as well, so I didn't make it very high key. It was actually quite a low key lighting situation. I wanted to make it look a little bit more dramatic, but essentially you're going to need lighting to keep that ISO down at 100. Now, my ISO was set to 100. It was a little bit underexposed because I wanted to have a nice contrasty image. Essentially, the lighting on the left-hand side with the key light, it was almost overexposed, but the A6000 was actually correctly exposed, as you can see by this footage right here anyway. So I'll quickly dive over this once again in this video. And in terms of getting a nice, clean, crisp image, you're going to need to shoot in manual. I can't stress this enough. Shooting in manual is one of the most important parts of the DJI Osmo Pocket, because it performs slightly, suppose, different to a DSLR or mirrorless camera. You don't have a fast adjustable lens that you have on there. It shoots at an f2.8 aperture, so it's not incredibly fast, but you're going to need to be in full control over your ISO and your shutter speed. So obviously your shutter speed, I say this all the time, must be around about twice your frame rate. So if you're shooting at 24 or 25 frames per second, you need to be 1/50th of a second with your shutter speed. If you are 1/60th of a second, it may not matter as much, but you'll have less motion blur. So if you did this, you can see my hand is nice and blurry. If I increase the shutter speed, the hand would be tack sharp, and it just does not look normal. So our natural eyes, or our eyes, naturally see motion. So if you do this in front of your face, you're not going to see your hand nice and sharp. You're going to see a bit of motion blur. So essentially the camera is creating that similar motion blur to what our eyes see, which makes it look cinematic. Now you have to start to understand white balance as well. So the link will be in the description below of a white balance chart, but I'll have a chart up right now. As you can see here, tungsten is about 3200 Kelvin, and daylight is around 5600 Kelvin. So if you are shooting in daylight, set your white balance to 5600. Now this can change a little bit depending on what type of lights are around you. But if you are just in regular daylight, 5600 will be just sufficient. It all depends on what ND filter you have on the front as well. That could possibly change the color temperature of what it is seeing through the lens. So with like, say for instance, the Sony cameras, if you want to change your white balance, you go to the white balance setting, you put a white or gray card in front of the camera, it's got a little circle, you press OK, and it will take a little photo, and it will actually adjust the white balance in comparison to what the light actually is. Because if you are indoors, incandescent lights do set off different tones. So it all depends on if it's warm or if it's a cool light. You're going to need to do your white balancing, which is very difficult with the Osmo Pocket. But if you do actually have a camera that does have a white balance, check it with your camera first. So check that lighting, set it all up, do a white balance in your camera, then you're able to transfer that to the Osmo Pocket. Now, one of the biggest things with the Osmo Pocket, once you've got the cinematic settings down, pat, correct, all sorted, the movement is the most important part here. If you do want nice slow footage, so if you're doing a product review and you just want nice slow pans, slow tilts, that is perfectly fine. Just get them nice and smooth. If you don't want any transitions, that's fine. Have a hard cut, put them up against each other. That's perfectly fine. You're gonna get some nice crisp footage. But if you wanna start introducing some cinematic or some advanced movements, then you're going to need to hold it nice and steady. Luckily, it is a 3-axis gimbal, so you're actually able to create some advanced movements with the DJI Osmo Pocket. And the one advantage that this has over other cameras is that 3-axis gimbal. IBIS isn't necessarily great with the Sonys. It's pretty decent with Panasonic, but when it comes to comparing it to a 3-axis gimbal, you just don't have that comparison because it is absolutely fantastic when it comes to stability. So you do have that advantage over some other cameras. All right, guys, well, that is it from me today. Please hit that like button if you could. That would be absolutely amazing. Comment below. Like I said, if you want to see any more videos on the DJI Osmo Pocket. Guys, my name's Jason Morris, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, see ya.